Welcome to another episode of Sleep Science Academy, interviewing the experts. And I'm super excited to bring on today's guest, Jack Dell Accio, who is the founder of Essentia, an amazing company that produces a non-toxic, non-off-gassing, supportive, incredible mattress. And today's topic is all about sleep environment optimization. So Jack, welcome to the show.
And thanks for having me on. Great job in pronouncing the last name.
I had a little bit of practice, right? I want to just start quickly by you sharing your story. I mean, we had lunch a couple of weeks ago, and it was so interesting to hear kind of where you came from. And I know you have a really powerful personal story about what led you to create Essentia and help people optimize their sleep environments. But can you share a little bit about like your background and how what inspired you to, take this on and provide such an amazing product?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, it seemed like a simple journey when I first took it on, but it evolved so much over the years. What triggered me was I had a few people in my family that were undergoing cancer treatments, and basically, in that time. I think that's how many people turn to wellness, not necessarily their own experience, but their family, their loved ones' experience. And that kind of was the case here. I've always been entrepreneurial, and everything I do and think in life kind of ends up, my work is my life, like so many others. And when we were going through this kind of chapter in our lives where we were trying to explore and discover wellness and how to support them in their journey. A lot revolved around the home environment. And, back then, my family was in the latex foam business. So we knew, that at the dinner table, we spoke shop. And, while I wasn't in the family business, I fully understood, what it was made of, who buys it, what it's for. So latex was, from when I was young, was always in the conversation, and I had that knowledge. But in trying to figure out what all the wellness is, what they need, how they were suffering, the physical pain, the respiratory issues, everything that comes with a compromised body. And then my brain kind of went on another way. Like, what can I do that my life becomes this? How does my life become wellness? And at the time I had a great, millwork design company. Things were all right. Things were good. Financially and all that, but I no longer felt the satisfaction in my work because I wasn't contributing anything that satisfied me. So then I started to wonder, well, why isn't everyone using latex foam? And obviously, the alternative is the most commonly used polyurethane foam. And the reason is costs. And also some other practical reasons is the latex foam itself, it sounds great when you're just looking at it, through a narrow channels, but really it wasn't doing the support needs, the pressure redistribution needs without having any layering on top, which would be either wool or cotton or any type of batting. And that brought into respiratory issues. So in looking at my family's business, I was realizing when it became down to the material science, there was nothing really out there that was addressing everything. And at that time, for me, everything was toxins. So my initial journey was really reworking the formulas of latex and see how the behavior changes and see how I could have had latex foam behave as a memory foam, which was polyurethane based. And, after about 3.5 years of trial and error, and we'd always get close enough to developing something that it kept us going just when we wanted to give up. But finally, we did break through and have a product that was fantastic, our first iteration of our natural memory foam. And at that point, I thought I was going to hand it off to my family's business and they'd maybe give me royalties or something, and I'd keep going on my way. But finally, that didn't pan out this way. Some of the brands who were buying the product were just using it for marketing purposes, and I kind of felt that my development of that product was really at its infancy. And I didn't feel that it was a marketing edge that this had to be a real change maker. So that's when 2005, I started the groundwork to launch Essentia, and I founded the company. And that was kind of the beginning of my learning, because over the years, I've realized there's so much more than just toxins, and toxins is so important in the sleep environment. I think it's maybe the number one issue, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. And over the years, we've developed.
Yeah, let's talk about this. So first and foremost, I love when someone takes a painful experience and it does something to transform reduce that pain for other people. And that's exactly what you did. So let's just dive right into talking about, a non-stimulating sleep environment. And we'll start with toxins. So let's, how toxic are, I guess regular mattresses, is this should people be concerned about sleeping on their mattress? Let's just start with that question.
I mean, I think they should be absolutely concerned of what they're sleeping on. In an average household, the mattress itself happens to be what gives off the most emissions in today's modern world, more than anything. Why more than anything else? Because for example, other products that have polyurethane have low density polyurethanes, like your couch and all that kind of stuff. Very low densities, and you're not sleeping in it. You're not in as much contact with it. But again, low levels of polyurethane. When you get into the mattress world, they're high density, high concentrations of polyurethanes. And so those are emitting. So that does more than anything else. Everything else is kind of regulated. The types of paints have been regulated. So many things have been regulated. Mattress yes, there are limitations to the off-gassing, but they're mainly focused on production. And most of the foams these days are actually coming from China, where there are no regulations. I've actually visited a factory in China, and it was an incredible experience, just because it was a saddening experience. I was able to basically smell the chemicals and the toxins from the parking lot. I didn't have to go into the building, and the building had no windows because that was their ventilation. So in the surrounding areas, this was a neighborhood. There were homes, there were people living there, and I can smell the toxins. And then when I walked through that factory, it was horribly, this was not that day. They were not producing. So that was an odor in the environment, in the neighborhood, which at least backdated at least a day from the previous day, if not more. So it was insane. And that's where most Americans are buying their products from. This was a major producer in China. And but back to the sleep environment, this is chronic exposure to what kind of we can define as low level toxins. What does that mean? Is that it won't kill you quick enough for governments to say that this has to be eliminated. But basically, it basically builds towards any types of long-term disease, could be considered a carcinogen, but because of environmental, you can't pinpoint it, you can't absolutely blame it. But that's something that doesn't belong in the sleep environment. Now, that I'm just talking about the long-term effects. Short-term effects, it's actually accelerating your central nervous system. So when you're trying to sleep every single night, that chemical off-gassing is stimulating you rather than allowing you to slow down and get rest. Your body has to defend itself. What I had realized when you're dealing with sick people, and over the years, working with high performers, which is also a very gratifying experience. But what I learned from both of them is that they both are in tune with their bodies.
Yep.
High performers and like pro athletes, they, in a positive sense, they know what makes them feel well and what makes them perform better. On the other hand, the people who are weakened immune, weakened physically, they don't necessarily know what's going on, but their overreactions are obvious. Rashes, respiratory issues, coughing. So their bodies overreact to something, whereas the pro athlete just knows he's not at 100%, whether he's using trackers, whether he's basically just not clocking in the same performances each day. So that's just the two different extremes, but I've learned so much from those two extremes.
Wow. It's like the really sick and the really smart.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I would put that. And it's, so the toxins create this stimulation of the central nervous system over time. Obviously, we're on our mattress, we're in our bedroom 1/3 of our entire lives. Right. And so I think this is challenging for people to understand, because it's not a direct impact. Like, it's not like, you get a mattress and then next thing you know, you're sick. Right. Or, so and this is what's so challenging, I think, Jack, for people to really get. It's these little things make a big difference over time. And why not control your environment and make it less stimulating, so that your body can be in a state of relaxation and rest. And we totally live in a toxic world. I mean, from the food we eat to the water we drink, to the air we breathe. So I think it's really important that we take action on controlling our internal environments, as best we can. So outside of the toxins, what are some other things that create stimulation for people, either on what they're sleeping on or within their environment? Like, what are some of those other things?
And we've done a lot of research and tracking with all this, and it's been, I guess, about 10 years that I've been working with a group out of New York called Delos, and I've really learned so much from their methodologies of researching, and I've appreciated that part of it, and I've kind of adopted that same approach of evidence-based learning for everything, and that's all we share when it comes to Essentia, is really focused on tracking and seeing the differentials, recognizing what has changed. And what we like to track is the deep sleep and REM sleep cycles. And we see that with increased stimulation, your time in those deep sleep and REM sleep cycles is shortened. And that makes all the difference in your recovery, in your wellness, whether it be mental and physical health. So the first one has been toxins, which was obvious and was our first challenge that we approached. But then from there was allergens. And we realized that allergens is another stimulant. And then, what? So many people have allergens and allergic reactions. I think like something like 25% of Americans realize that they have allergies. That's the ones that are recognizing it.
Wow.
But something is actually going on when your body, an allergic reaction is an overreaction from your body.
Yep.
So, and you only notice it when it's an overreaction, but there's a reaction happening, and that reaction is a stimulant, which is keeping you away from your deep and REM sleep cycles.
Okay.
And when it came to mattresses, for example, allergens were, not to drop back, but chemical sensitivities would be, some people say have allergies to chemicals. That's kind of covered in our toxin stimulants. But other ones are proteins that could be found in latex that's not properly processed. It's found in dust mite, feces, corpses, and pretty much most mattresses are made with a quilted layer on top, that pillow top. Well, that pillow top basically is a nest, and your body exfoliates, your perspiration. We're creating this perfect environment for that duplication and home for dust mites, right? And while some people say that sounds pretty disgusting that you have all of this, we all heard that a mattress doubles and triples in weight,
right,
just based on dust mites. But that's not actually the issue. The issue is what the overreaction that it causes to your body. Some people sense it, other people don't, but that's a stimulant that we consider problematic as well.
Got it. So there's the toxins, and then there's the allergies. So two different buckets.
Two different buckets.
Got it.
We go to about 7 when it comes to the mattress, and then obviously the ones that are not related to the mattresses. So the third one, which is incredibly important, is temperature regulation. And And this is a hot topic. It's
It
all
is.
over. You walk into any mattress store, it's always about sleeping cool, sleeping cool, sleeping cool.
Yeah. Yep.
So the thing is, we've tracked this to see what does that mean to sleep cool. Everyone says drop the temperature in your room, and already you're sleeping cooler. Or take showers, the bath, all the different approach for temperature regulation. What we've seen is it's not just about that static temperature at one given point. And people are only focused on the onset of sleep. They're focused on how they feel when they go to bed,
Right.
and when they fall asleep. But temperature regulation is something that goes on throughout the night. And here's how we've tracked it is that if your surface, first of all, if you have a cool room and a surface that traps your heat, that's by nature, all surfaces will increase in temperature because your body heat it naturally escapes.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's trapped on the surface, that temperature of that surface will constantly be on the rise. What's being used today are phase-changing chemicals. Phase-changing chemicals, one, they introduce toxins to the bed again, but number two is they don't really work for the whole sleep experience, which should be 8 hours, right? So the way a phase-changing chemical works, when it's in contact with heat, like your body heat, well, the reaction basically has a cool sensation. So it feels amazing for a mattress store. You go in, every guy goes in and lays down on those phase-changing chemicals and says, "This is the mattress I love," because it feels like they just laid down on a little sheet of ice, right? They love that sensation, but it goes away. Give it seconds, and that heat has gone away. The reaction happens once, and now to get that reaction again, you have to change position. And you think of that concept is you need to constantly be changing position to constantly create a chemical reaction, and that doesn't work, right? That's
Nope.
not sleeping.
No, that's called restlessness. That's called tossing and turning. That's called not getting a good night of sleep.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
But great for a short run. But here's what we've been tracking is that it's not just that onset of sleep. So as your body temperature continues to decrease, naturally cooling, your basically everything, your brain activity, central nervous system slows down. And again, that's another way that you stay in your deep sleep and REM sleeps longer. And as soon as that temperature starts to be on the rise, you're actually waking up. That's the signal to your body to wake up. These are part of this is not how we're built. This is part of nature. Without our central air environments, almost every environment cools down at night and starts to again change in the mornings, right? So this is how our body clocks were designed for. And this is what we need to try to emulate in our sleep, is how do we really respect that clock and slow it down? And what we've been able to clock is at a minimum 20% longer sleep times.
Wow.
When you're which is substantial when you're constantly in a decline in temperature, and we've seen longer periods in your deep sleep and REM sleep. So cooling is a huge issue. People recognize it because people don't tend to realize what they need when they're fully asleep, unconscious, right?
Yeah.
But they do realize on the onset of sleep what's keeping them awake, what's not making them come in, what makes them sweat. So that it's kind of the most obvious. That's why it's the most popular thing on the market is sleeping cool.
Makes sense.
But
Makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
So we got toxins, we got allergies, and we got temperature. And you said something to me that really resonated with me. As far as like temperature regulation, going to the beach and being on sand, and sort of how sand regulates temperature. And I would imagine probably if we were to go back 500 years or whatever, sleeping on the ground, there's that temperature, the ground heats up and it cools down, and it's a good. So it's really what I hear you saying. Is getting back to nature, getting back to like
absolutely.
How do we bring the outside to the inside, and that in a way that's not stimulating, that's not creating toxic load, that's not creating allergies or stimulation. And I'm just curious. So are you measuring with all the studies that you've done, Jack? Are you looking at heart rate variability, or what are you looking at when you're doing your studies for reducing stimulation? Like, what is the metric that you guys? Is it heart rate variability? Is it heart rate? What is it?
So we've been working with a lot of the devices right now, and we've been working with pro teams. And when we work with pro teams, they're the ones doing the studies. We can't, and they just give us the aggregate information. And then a lot of that, and that's just been a great tool because they have all the resources, and they've been able to really have, and for PA reasons, player association reasons, we can't know specific players or specific, obviously, because their sleep habits could actually affect their contract renegotiations.
I know you that was something that was also very interesting to me and unique, is all the pro athletes and celebrities and the high performers that use your product, that understand that they don't want toxins, they don't want allergens, and they want something that's temperature regulating, but not just in the beginning of the night, but throughout the night, so that they get more sleep, deeper quality sleep. And I know, as far as, I want to shift gears a little bit around, like, you said also something to me in our conversation around sleeping in your mattress and sleeping on your mattress. So, which is one better than the other? Is it really personal preference? Like, can you speak a little bit about, like, that was a really, I never really heard that before. So I'd love to dive into that a little bit.
For us, it's all about posture.
Posture. Okay.
And your posture will dictate how you should be sleeping. And when we consult with pro athletes, we consult them remotely. They don't even have to try our mattress. We just, they know that we make the mattress that's right for them, as far as all the elimination of all stimulants naturally. But then it's like, we get them on the right mattress. And it's funny when you deal with maybe the higher profile players, where they're used to making all the decisions, and when they come to us, it goes, "Oh, we're going to decide for you. Just trust us." We take a posture assessment, and the reason why is, no matter how heavy you are, you can have a huge stomach, but your posture will just, like, people think it's weight determined by weight. It's fully determined by posture, because it's where your weight shifts to. So someone who's got a big belly but has a pronounced lower back arch, well, when they're horizontal, their weight distribution is going to be shifting to their shoulders. Okay. Someone who has a very flat lower back, their weight distribution is going down to their lumbar. That's just by nature how it'll be. So when you have a very flat posture, you'll need to sleep on the mattress, because then your weight will push you too far in your lumbar. It's always about keeping that proper balance. For somebody who's got either a regular or pronounced spinal curve, they'll need to sleep in the mattress.
Wow.
Now, when we say in it, because it's all about eliminating the negative space. So you have the first part of the mattress, which similarly for everyone needs to be about pressure redistribution, needs to be about its reaction time. So again, one of the obvious stimulants is pain.
Yeah. Big time.
So pain affects sleep. So how do you handle pain? You handle pain through, one is the product. Our product, we focus on not softness and firmness, but elasticity. Why elasticity? Because a soft bed is typically considered a bad bed. Why is it a poor quality bed? Is because most people make soft beds by adding air. Add air either to the fibers, making lighter weight fibers, lighter weight foams, all the tactics to create a pillow top feel. So if you've got a pronounced spinal curve, feels great at first because you get into the mattress, right? And eliminate that negative space. But that negative space is so low in density, it's actually not giving you support. And that's part of the thing, is when you get into the mattress, you still need a very dense mattress. So we formulate a very dense mattress with high elasticity. So as it contours, eliminates negative space, it's actually giving full support. And higher density means higher durability, not just in the lifelong time of your investment, but the lifetime of its giving proper support. You
Wow.
know, it should work the same the first month as it is the 60th month and the 120th month.
Yeah.
Because once you're not getting the support, it's not really working for you. You may not change it. That those are financial decisions, but it's no longer giving you the support that's needed. But those are the posture is what determines if you need to be on it or in it.
Yeah. Okay. So, and is there a easy way, for our listeners, Jack, like how would someone that's not a pro athlete, that's probably not going to order a custom mattress, like how would they determine number one, should they sleep in or on their mattress? Is there a way that you would recommend? Is there sort of a simple formula for this so that people listening to this can take
So
action?
actually, interestingly enough, you know what we need to get you? We need to get you a link to add to this. So we have a free assessment tool.
Okay, great.
Which any of your listeners would be welcome to using. The assessment tool is something we developed actually with the medical team of the Montreal Canadiens. At that time, what they were doing is they were using personality as an indicator for posture, muscular strengths, muscular weaknesses, and they were doing
Wow.
this for neck and back injuries.
Okay.
And I was consulting with the team on sleep, and I was completely fascinated with this whole approach.
Yeah.
So in the off season, the medical team came to work at Essentia for, I guess, a few months during their off season, and we looked at all of their algorithms and understanding it, and then we developed a whole bunch of formulas that basically based on the results of each individual player. So we went through the exercise with each one of that team's roster
Wow.
and really detailed it that way. So for years, when we work with pro athletes, we get on a phone call, they answer 20 questions, and we give them, okay, this is what you should have, whether it be one of our inline mattresses or a custom mattress that we built for them. It was all based on the personality questions. So today we have it all digitally. It's on our website, and you go through the 20 questions, and it'll tell you which mattress is right for you, but also give you a little bit of information about your spinal curve
Wow.
and your
Okay.
muscle. So you have that. A simple way to maybe do it would be to stand up against the wall. Stand up against the wall and kind of put your hand. If your hand try to indicate the space in your lower back. If you see that you have some space between the wall and the gap, well, that's when you start to realize that that's kind of the gap that needs to be filled.
Yep.
If your lower back is completely touching the wall, you need to be on the mattress and not in the mattress. So that's
Got it. Okay. So really that's a simple, we got two ways there. Take the assessment
sure.
or go stand up against the wall and see, how deep your lordotic curve is essentially
Exactly.
by using your hand. Okay.
It's sometimes it's a little more obvious when somebody has a really pronounced curve that's obvious. But when it's in the regular, that's where the app is usually helpful in figuring out it specifically what's right. And we've seen people so many times, especially, again, this has come up with athletes where every athlete thinks they need a firm bed because they've just had so many negative experience on soft beds. And their negative experience are almost every time that we've been able to identify is because they're low density soft beds. So they're just their weight and their muscular build is not having them aligned properly on that mattress. So they get lower back pains, they get shoulder pains, neck pains. All this developed from a non-supportive mattress. And so when we do the assessment and we tell them that no, you need to sleep in your mattress, not on your mattress, and there's a hesitancy, but because you feel what you know, right? It's my experience. I sleep in this bed. I get pain every time I'm in that soft mattress at a hotel. So they feel they know it. But the reality is they come to see me because when they get back on their firm bed at home, their back pains and shoulder pains are not being resolved as well. Because again, a firm mattress is in the market is just a hard, stiff mattress. And when I say you need to sleep on the bed, that surface needs to have a lot of elasticity, just less of it. Okay. And then the lower layers are what determine your posture support. Your top layer is comfort, is pressure redistribution. And again, when I talk about the response time is because when we talk about during your sleep, if we do a great job in supporting and pressure redistribution, you're not going to move much. But there are periods during your REM sleep where you will have natural movements that happen. Your body, your brain now is active and thinking.
Yep.
And when your brain is active and thinking, it could lead to leg jerking. It could lead to any type of movement. You're dreaming, right? So you're going to have movements. When you're making those movements, if your mattress is not ready to readapt to your new positions within seconds, then it takes you out of, it keeps you longer in the wake cycles.
Yep.
And then longer to get back into the deeper, in your deep sleep cycles. So that's, again, another thing that we focus on formula to really approach what naturally happens in bed. So and that's, again, where we talk about stimulants, is a stimulant being a bed not being adaptive and reactive enough. And typically that's a problem with a memory foam. So a memory foam mattress is a delayed response, right? But the problem with a memory foam is it relies on your body's heat to completely form into this kind of mold to your body. But when you change position in a memory foam, two things need to happen. The new spot now needs to absorb your body heat, and it needs to readapt to your body. But the old spot actually needs to cool off, because until it's cool, you don't have the edgings of that body cast, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So that takes about 6 minutes to cool down. That's 6 minutes that's keeping you in an awake cycle rather than quickly dropping back down to a deeper sleep cycle.
Jack, I gotta say, I love the intentionality and the science and that you're putting behind what you're talking about. I mean, this is really interesting stuff that I mean, I'm learning a lot from this conversation. It's really refreshing to hear. You know, I know obviously you went very deep into this.
Yeah,
understanding this is
obsessively deep.
I could see that. We're both wearing our blue blocking glasses here. You know, we're going into the density and the elasticity. I mean, so I love that. I appreciate it so much, because you know, when you go deep into a subject, that's where like the gold is. These little things actually make a big difference. You know, and a lot of times it's just, we're ignorant to it. If you're not a mattress expert, or if you haven't been in you know, the industry, you would never know what all the things that you're saying. Like, this is like, they don't teach us in schools. Like, this is like really amazing stuff to understand and to know.
You know, when you think about what drives, you know, our biggest challenge as a company is who would, you know, sell our products. We are not the ideal product for resale. Why? Because we're in the education role. We do a lot of research, and we share our research. And most marketers just, what's a simple short message? What's the elevator pitch? How can I get you intrigued in 5 seconds? And how can I sell you in 20 seconds? That's kind of like the whole, how selling is taught, right? And we're just not about that. That's not what drives me. That's not what my passion is. My passion hasn't been about marketing my company. I still, you know, and maybe it would be better for me if I did know a little bit about that a little bit more. But you know, I still look back in my 16 years, and what I'm excited about, the stories I like to tell, is all the people I've helped, whether it be people who are suffering and going through personal challenges, or pro athletes in how they felt, you know, when they realized how good our product was for them. Those are my memories. Those are what I hold fondly of, right? So
I love it. Yeah, the success stories. That's what really gets you up in the morning. Yeah. That's what gets me up in the morning. That's what keeps you driving to improve and get better and, you know, perfect things. And it's you know, so I do want to, maybe you could share 1 or 2 stories of like you're most proud of, as far as, you know, somebody that had an experience with your product, and you know what that did for them. Do you have any like top of mind quick stories that would?
Yeah, so I've got some celebrity stories, and I've got some not so celebrity stories. But I'll go with the non-celebrity first, and you tell me if you want to hear more.
Yeah.
Well, this was probably one person who was pretty amazing. How he had been reaching out to us. He knew of us through a family member. He was in Western Canada and, inquired about us and really took a lot of time to make a decision. It was about 2 years that he had been in contact with us.
Wow.
And
That's a long life cycle.
Yeah, seriously, exactly.
Yeah.
But he was a skier, mountain cyclist. He lived out in the mountains, and that was his passion. And as his spine was deteriorating, he was considering getting us. But nobody really believes that a mattress or sleep can do that much. Everyone, right. It's always the last thought. It's always like it can't be that.
Not anymore, Jack. Not anymore, because you and me, we're
changing that.
Waking people up, waking them up. Yeah.
So one day he when he had reached a point where he could no longer ski and he could no longer bike, and basically spent his days in a chair and even had struggled just sleeping at this point, decided to go ahead and get our mattress. So I basically got a full 2-page letter from him. I guess it was pretty short, like 3 months after that, and saying how he really started to feel better daily. The impact was daily, and he is now able to ski 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day for a non-skier seems like a lot.
Wow.
For him, this was still not a lot, but but he goes, he's back to skiing, he's back to cycling, and it's something that really progressively got better. And basically he had a spinal degenerative disease. So this was something that was in his family, and he knew that he was going to one day suffer from this. And we basically can't do anything to fix his back because that his condition was hereditary. However, we were able to, in a sense, heal it nightly so that he can go out and challenge himself daily. So that was a really interesting story and a beautiful story. The words that he used and how appreciative he was. One of the pro athletes that I kind of enjoyed the story of was one of the first hockey players that I was introduced to was, in fact, if I go back, we had a strength and conditioning coach and the director of sleep science. I believe you've met him. I had him at the biohacking conference.
Yeah, great guy. Brian. He's amazing.
So, Andy was tasked with looking and researching a mattress for himself that he was curious, but also for Sidney Crosby, that was captain of the Penguins, and really did his research and tried to figure out what would be the best mattress. And one in every sense, whether it be stimulants was not necessarily a word we used back then, but he was looking for whether it be non-toxic, whether it be proper support of for people with high muscle volume as well. Much heavier bodies when they're built that way. And ultimately, his search led him to Essentia. He then fully vetted Essentia, flew in, got all the background notes, did his research about what we were saying, about what we presented him with. And all this without knowing who he was, because he was dealing with one of our showroom managers. And then he passed on this information to Sidney's agent. And the agent then calls us up and we're talking. And today he's become a friend, actually, because his whole roster of players are now asleep on our at one point where he's calling, we need this guy. So at one point it was all over. But the one player who did not get on our bed was Sidney Crosby. And that was kind of almost like I couldn't believe it. Why is so many, like today, over 25% of NHL players sleep on our bed. But at that time, if I go back 4 years ago, he still was not. And his big thing was he's a creature of habit, superstition, a lot of athletes.
Oh, yeah.
And he's afraid of changing any equipment.
Yeah, the
But
lucky
then
socks.
exactly. But then secondly, he was concerned that when he'd be on the road, he'd be sleeping on hotel mattresses. And he felt he needed to have his home mattress similar to a hotel mattress so
Right.
that his sleep didn't change on the road or not. So 5 years ago, after a few inquiries that I had made, and he never had that interest in shifting over, he had suffered another concussion. And at this point, I got the call, Sid would like to give the mattress a try. And so we went ahead and they purchased a mattress. And then the next thing was, I follow up a few weeks later, curious to know how's he doing? Is he liking it? Haven't heard anything. 3 months after that, I call the agent, still no word. Call his assistant. He really hasn't mentioned the mattress at all. So my thoughts were he didn't like it because he had that personality where he was very, very intensely concerned about whatever he used. So I figured he chucked it out, put it in a spare room, or gave it to a relative. That's those are the three options, right? Anyhow, at the end of that season, I get a phone call from his agent and says, "Listen, we'd like you to come to the game tomorrow night, Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final. Can you make it?" So I said, "Well, give me a minute, and let me check the flights, right?" And I had the intent of going. And let me see if I can get there. He goes, "Hurry up, because people are knocking down the door for any seat for that game." And basically, that I flew up to Pittsburgh and met up with his agent. And I thought I was really going to just get an ordinary seat, but they walked me to, and I get to sit in the owner's box. Met the family of the owners. Met Mario Lemieux, which was fantastic for me as a childhood type of hockey hero that I've always admired from my hometown as well. So that was kind of cool. And thanking me for supporting the team, because at that point most of those players were sleeping on Essentia. Got to meet the players afterwards. I had spoken to most of them by phone, and realizing that the level of appreciation that every one of those guys had for their mattress. Who would have figured that? Even everyone out there, it's like, they're wondering, who do you represent? Gatorade, any sports drinks, the mattress. That's kind of odd, right? But the appreciation was there, and I saw it from the players, from the management, to the point where they got me involved to meet their president, to meet a lot of people, to really because that's how seriously they took sleep. And that year was the year that, as Andy had mentioned at the conference, was they knew that their only chance to repeat a championship was through recovery. They had the talent, they had everything, and they shifted everything for sleep. They changed their travel schedules, their practice schedules, and they got their players to follow the same routine. So if they were going to sleep at midnight Eastern time, for example, it would be when they were in the West Coast, it would be 9 p.m. to bed. Smart. So they really made sure that their bodies were always functioning in a very predictable way, because that's something that the body needs, right? They always if you go in a gym, you need to do the opposite. A trainer always tell you, change up your routine to challenge the body, and you're constantly challenging the body to help build muscle and make it, use your core and all these things that you stimulate your body with to train and bulk up. You need to do the opposite for sleep.
That's right.
Make it predictable.
It's so on now. Again, it's starting to get, especially from the professional sports world. Now people are realizing how important recovery is. And it's like, before, people just disregarded it. They're train hard, bust your body up, and then just forget about the recovery. And so
this was the common thought process, and not so long ago, 10 years ago or something. The common thinking was, the most important thing is you train hard. Second to that is eat well. And then third to that is sleep and recovery. And today they've realized it's completely the other way around. your foundation, and most important part is your sleep and recovery.
Yep.
And again, I think people still have a hard time grasping that that's more important than training. But don't forget, training is something that comes natural for these guys. It's not like you don't have to think twice about training, but sleep and recovery is the most important one. On top of that is not training, is then the second most important thing becomes nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And the third is training.
Yep.
So training is the smallest piece of that pie. And the elite athletes have figured that out and they thrive that way. The ones that, are not taken as much of a focus on it, they don't do as well, or their career doesn't go on as long.
It's not sustainable.
Yep, it's not sustainable.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. So to feel the appreciation from all the players to really see how big of an impact they felt that you had, and you played a role in them being successable.
Well, especially since they have every resource available to them. I love the appreciation when we're working with someone who's ill and they're not breathing well, the respiratory issues with a chemical product. Yeah, I love that, and we appreciate that, and we love that we're helping them. But it's so much more obvious when we're helping someone who's sick. When we're helping somebody who is a champion, an elite, has every resource around them, and then they go above and beyond to invite you and to be there, and because they really, that's pretty. It's not like they had their hot tub supplier there.
Right. No, that says something. So I want to shift gears a little bit and just ask one or two more questions, and then we're going to wrap it up. The first one is, in regards to, what we were speaking about before we got into these amazing stories, but it was about posture. And is there an optimal sleep position that you think most people should be sleeping in? Have you come across any research on that, or is there any information you could share about that?
So, I mean, there is one optimal position that I know is best, but it's not everyone that does it. But I'll tell you about sleep positions. There's part of it that is a mental part, which is habit, personality, things that are so well ingrained in who you are that is very difficult to shift. So personality has a play in that. Some people are stomach sleepers. It's not for support. They just are stomach sleepers, and that's how that's their emotional comfort. So then you have side sleepers. For years has been considered the optimal way, but I believe that that's an optimal way because traditionally we've had poor mattresses.
Okay.
So if you're going to have a bad surface or bad mattress, I would say in that case a side position is best, because the fetal position kind of braces you from having any of the bad support issues that you'd get from a mattress. So you won't be hammocking. So the fetal position is your best defense from a poor mattress.
Got it. And if you have a great mattress,
here's a little twist. The best position on a great mattress is flat on your back with a slight incline from the head to toe.
Yep.
So that's the optimal position right there.
I'd have to agree with you. And I've talked to a lot of people about this. So I was just curious your intake on that.
And that's just weird because people always think that's weird too. At one point, and I just didn't do it because I thought it would be not everyone would get it. Because our mattresses are molded. So at one point I was molding our mattresses to basically from head going all sloping down, and then a slight increase at the knee. And so, it was, we were playing around with it. Everyone looks like you're treating a bed like a running shoe. Yeah. When Nike designs a shoe, they're looking at the perfect support to jump, to run, to whatever it is. So I was looking.
I love that.
This is the perfect core. This is the perfect build. But there's a simple solution to it. You can put blocks on your bed frame and just raise it up 10 degrees, and you're.
Yeah, and I think that's for lymphatic drainage, for a lot of other reasons that sleeping on a slight incline has been shown to increase quality of sleep. So I love that you're ahead of the curve there. Maybe that mattress will come back. I don't know. As incline sleeping trends up with more people talking about it and more people being interested about sleep. So I want to wrap today's conversation up, Jack. Your wealth of knowledge, you're an expert in what you do. I want to appreciate all the effort you put into to your company and making amazing product that helps people, you know, reduce the level of stimulation, which I'm a huge fan of. By the way, because that's what I do at Sleep Science Academy is how can we reduce stimulation throughout the entire day,
Mhm.
and let's keep that going all the way into the bedroom, right? Because that's really what keeps people up is the stress, is all the hyper stimulation from the devices. I mean, just there's so much that we're bombarded with, from a mental standpoint and from a physical standpoint. So I appreciate the effort and the work that you're doing to create a harmonious environment.
You just touched on something that again people are can't see and touch. It's not, we call it EMFs, but it's way more than
Oh,
EMFs. Right now it's waves and signals. And
mm,
we've developed over the last 3 years, again, an evidence-based product that eliminates the impact of 3G, 4G, 5G
wow.
networks, the impact. So the way we've approached that again is because you hear a lot of people with EMF protection, but is it really doing something?
Right.
Grounding pads no longer work. Grounding pads were good in the 70s, but today
Mm.
grounding pads are don't make any sense because the waves are not from our electrical
Right.
devices that are on, but they're from the Wi-Fi networks,
Yep.
data
All
networks
around us.
all around us. So what we've discovered is by basically taking blood work and looking at cell activities, we
Wow.
can see how the cells behave when on a normal circumstance. We see how they behave during active downloads, which
Hmm.
could be cell streaming, anything you're doing from the internet, and we see that they cluster together and don't allow for oxygen to flow as easily through your blood
Hmm.
flow.
Hmm.
And it takes about a half hour to normalize again.
Wow.
Well, with our formula, we basically it's a natural product, and with our product, we see that the blood work stays perfect, actually even better than without any data streaming. So again, this is another way that we eliminate those
Fascinating.
stimulants from the sleep environment.
Qu-
There's so many stimulants that
yeah,
you need
we
to focus on.
wow, we didn't even get into that. And I got a quick question, a follow up on that. Have you ever used like a voltmeter to like test when somebody's laying in bed? Grounding is, have you ever, used something like that to see, or
Well,
was it just the blood work?
it's just the blood work because the voltmeter is only relative to electronic devices. The
Hmm.
voltmeter is not going to get your Wi-Fi signals because those signals are there in the air all around us. And basically, that is through the blood work. That is the absolute method to test. And we're not getting rid of those signals because one thing I do believe in is progress. And I don't think we should be thinking about how to live as a caveman in order to, be around our technology. It's just not going to happen. It's not
Right.
realistic.
No, it's not.
Off the grid is not real. We
No,
wouldn't be having this conversation if we're all off the grid, right?
that's true. Yep.
Um, Pro athletes, I can tell them to manage their sleep times, eliminate all the stimulants, blackout shades, blue lock glasses, everything I can tell them. But when I tell them that you no longer have to have Wi-Fi or any devices in your home, you lose them.
You lose them. You
Just
lose
like you
them.
lose everyone, right?
Yeah.
But in fact, when it comes to those stimulants, what I thought was important is eliminate the negative impacts that they have. When you mitigate what it does to your blood, well, then you've solved that issue, and you can move forward with technology, with modern living, and I
Yeah, I
think
love
that
it.
that's the approach we need to have in almost everything we tackle.
Love it. Jack, thank you so much again for your time. And for everyone that's listening, Essentia.com, is that where people can learn more about your products? And
myessentia.com.
myessentia.com.
Our
Also, we'll
website.
put links below here, as well as the link to the assessment. I'm looking forward to taking that myself. And I love what you're doing. Great. I'm so happy that we're connected, and look forward to having more conversations in the
Yeah, look
future
forward to
about.
seeing you soon. And thank you. It was awesome. I keep keep talking and I could talk about this forever. So you got to hit the stop button, or else I'll just keep talking.
Well, no, I appreciate it. I mean, that's why we're here, to share knowledge and to inspire people to take action. And I learned a lot, so I appreciate you being open and sharing all the incredible knowledge you've acquired from your journey. So thanks a lot, and see you soon.
Thank you. Take care.